everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the very first video in my new Creator Bases tutorial series. In today's tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at the shipping tag creator bases, and I'll show you how I like to use them to create beautiful printable ephemera for junk journals, scrapbooks, card making, and so much more. Each Creator Bases pack includes several different elements to help you speed up your creative workflow. You'll receive textured transparent PNG base shapes, a simple black outline version that's perfect for printing directly onto your favourite papers or incorporating them into your own digital designs, vintage style shadow overlays to add extra depth and character, and a white stencil overlay that can be used as a quick and easy way to keep your designs neatly within the shape. Think of it as an optional finishing layer that helps bring everything together. Throughout this video, I'll explain what each element is for, show you how I use them, and share some ideas for creating your own unique designs. And of course, once you're happy with your finished artwork, you can export it as a printable sheet ready to print at home, or as a transparent PNG file to use with cutting machines or in your own digital products. This is just the beginning of the Creator Bases collection, and I already have lots more tutorials planned. So if there's a particular creator base, product, or digital technique you'd like me to cover in the future video, I'd absolutely love to hear your ideas. So please let me know in the comments below, because your suggestions really help shape future products and tutorials. Now then, let's get creative and jump straight into today's project. Okay, so we're starting with Photopea, which is the online free version of Photoshop. At the sides, I've got the files ready in the File Explorer. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Photopea and I go to File, New, and we're going to select US letter size. We're going to go 300 dpi in Portrait and then click Create. So now we've got our workspace, and I'm going to drag and drop the textured shapes into the workspace. And there we go. And you can actually click File, Open and Place, and then search for the file you want to add into the workspace that way. As you can see, if I get rid of the background, you can see this is a transparent layer, the PNG that we've just added in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer above that. There we go. And I'm also going to just show you I've got a file ready with all different goodies. I've got different backgrounds, digistamps, clip art, just to show you how to use them in this project. So we're going to go to the layer, and then I'm going to find the, not that one, that's the cropping tool. I'm going to find the selection tool at the top. And then we're going to just go over to, there we go, rectangle select. And then we're going to just highlight, just select one of the tag shapes, or just the area there. And then we're going to go to the paint bucket tool, just make sure that has been selected, and pick a colour. I'm going to go for a slightly darker brown. Click OK, and then just click anywhere in that selection. There we go. Now at the minute it is just looking like a rectangle over the project, so we want to right click on that layer and select clipping mask, and it will just fit it to the shape underneath. And then what we want to do now is you can go to your layer and then select the different blending options. So at the minute it's on normal, we want to click that and then click multiply. I like doing this because it does darken the colour a little bit, but if you zoom in you can see the paper texture coming through. It gives a bit of an overlay and a bit of a transparency to it. And then I'm going to go to top layer, make sure that's selected, and I'm going to make a new layer above this. So we're going to click new layer, and then we can right click and add a clipping mask there. And then I'm going to drag and drop another item. So I'm going to go for a texture, an overlay digistamp type of texture. And it's, as you can see, it's made a new layer, so we didn't need that layer underneath there anyway. So what we're going to do is I've just deselected it, so I'm going to go to, where is it? Edit. No, it's going to be, it's not in image, it's in edit and free transform. So you can then select it again to resize. You resize it and just add it over that tag that we're working on there, and then just click OK. And as you can see, it's made a new layer. So this layer underneath that we've made, we'll just move that to the top. We don't need that on it now. Make sure the overlay or digistamp layer is selected and select clipping mask like before. And what I'm doing here, I'm just grabbing the selection tool and I'm just going to tidy up the edges around it. So you want to drag and drop and then press shift and then select the other part underneath, and then just click cut. We will have to rasterize this layer, so just click OK and then cut. So it just tidies it up so there's nothing sort of overlapping the other tags. Now I want to change the colour of this digistamp or this overlay. So there are other ways of doing this, but this is just one way I do it. So I'm going to right click on the layer and then click select pixels, and it will just select all of the pixels that are in that layer, as you can see. And I'm going to click on the colour at the bottom and I'm going to choose a slightly darker brown. And then what we need to do is we need to go to image, no, we need to go to edit, and then we want to fill this in. So just click fill and then OK, and it should fill all the pixels selected there to the colour that you choose. That is one way of doing it. There are other ways you can do this. As you can see, it's just a block fill. Now we're going to click on the blending options and we can choose different blending options as you see there. The multiply, just bring the texture out a little bit in the background, but just darken it a little bit. It darkens the colour. So I'm going to play about with different blending options here. Darker colour. I quite like this one. Screen just lightens it a little bit, so it's just gives that extra texture in the background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the folder with all the little bits and bobs that we've got, and I'm going to select a couple of clip art pieces. And these are just public domain clip art images. I'm just going to drag them and fit them to the tag where I want them to sit. As you can see, that's the first one. I'm going to do this with a few more. And they are all placed. And that layer we made before, I'm just going to delete that. We don't need that now. Just right click and delete. Now, as you can see, these are the clip art pieces that we've just placed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just for this example, I'm going to click on each one, image and hue and saturation, just bring the saturation down a little bit because they are quite vibrant. And I'm going to do this for each one. So the one at the top, just open that a little bit, there we go. And then just again, image adjustments and then hue saturation. Bring that saturation down a little bit to about there. And I'm going to do the same again for the other one that's quite a bright green. So bring it down just so it all sort of matches and it flows nicely together. There we go. Now I want to merge all these layers together now. So I'm going to click the top one, press shift and then click the bottom so they're all highlighted, merge them, and there you can see they're all in one layer and it just makes it a bit easier to work with. And you want to highlight that layer, right click and then clipping mask like before. And again, I'm just going to clean up the edges. You want to grab your selection tool, select the first part, press shift and select the other part and then just cut. And now I'm going to show you how to make a little shadow. This is how I do it. So you can highlight the layer and duplicate it. So you've got two of these and then one underneath, you want to go to that, highlight it, click on image, adjustments, and we want to bring that brightness down a little bit or a lot. So make it dark enough. And we want to go to filter and we want to click on blur and Gaussian blur. Now this is where the magic starts. This is just how I do it. I mean, there's other ways you can do this. And you want to just grab it so that it's just slightly larger than the design above. There we go. And what you can do is once that's, well, it's still highlighted, you want to grab the transform tool and you can move it around a little bit so you can see it's just giving that little impression underneath. So it just makes the design stand out a little bit. And then again, you want to change the blending options. You can do. I think multiply works really well for this. It just darkens it a little bit. It obviously brings the texture of the paper through the shadow as well to make it look more authentic. And there we go. And you can hide the shadow. You can see the difference there. You don't have to have one. That's just one way of doing it. Okay, on to the next tag. So with this one, I'm going to just use a completely different background. So I'm just grabbing one of the backgrounds from the file folder, and I'm just going to drag this over where I want it to sit. First, I'm going to right click and select clipping mask so I can see it. I can properly see how it sits in the shapes. You want to go to image, edit. I keep doing this. Edit and free transform, and then you can move it round to wherever you like. And I think it looks nice there. I'm going to click OK. And that is the background I'm going to use for this tag. I'm just going to show you how to layer this up a little bit now. So I'm going to grab one of the digi stamps. This is a bit of a handwritten notes type of overlay. Drag and drop that in, and I'm going to resize this and just sit it over where I want it to be on the tag. There we go, and click OK. And with this one, I'm going to make sure the layer is selected, go to blending options, and we're going to go for overlay. So you've got that really nice transparency with it there, and it sits nicely over the background. Again, just grab the selection tool and delete the extra bits that just sit over onto the other tag. There we go. And as you can see, this isn't clipped to the design, but because of the blending options there with the overlay, it doesn't show over the white, but we're going to just right click and clip it to the shapes just in case we do change that later on. I'm just going to go to the folder and I'm going to select another stamp just to drag and drop in that this is going to be a bit more of a focal point of the tag. I'm going to just resize that so it sits nicely. I'm going to sit that in the center there. And there we go. Just get it right. I think that looks okay. And click OK. Okay, so the part we've just placed there, we want to just select, there we go, you can see how it sits. We want to select the layer underneath and make a new layer. So that layer sits underneath the butterfly that we have just added to the design. We're going to add a little bit of colour. So to the left, we're going to hold down the lasso tool and select the magnetic lasso. And you want to click anywhere on the design and just slowly drag it around where you want to fill. Now this just this automatically sticks to the pixels if you're slow with it. This is just one way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way. It's quite a rough way. And once you get to the end of the selection and the starting point, you want to click that as well so it makes a full selection. Go to the paint tool and then just click inside. And again, this is just a rough way of filling in the shape. It gives a bit of a screen printing, stamping effect, which I quite like. It's not perfect under the design. It does stick out of the edges a little bit and it doesn't quite fill it in completely. But I do quite like that effect. This is just one way that I do it. I'm going to do the same again. I've made another layer above the orange that we've just laid in. And I'm going to get the magnetic tool and select a little part and then select the white and just fill that in at the edges and then deselect. As you can see, that's a layer above, so this white layer is completely different to the orange. We're going to get the magnetic tool and we're going to just select, if I can, just select all the edge underneath, close the loop, get the paint bucket tool and then just fill that in white again and then just deselect anywhere. And there we go. Just to show you how to fill in just underneath the digitamp, just to give it a bit of, just to make it pop a little bit really. And then if we go to the layers we've just made, we can hide each one. There we go. So you can just see how each one sits on the design. And you can edit them any way you like as well. You can change them up. Now, to give the colour a little bit more of an authentic stamp look, I'm going to select one of the scratch effects overlays that I've got in this file as well. So where we are there with the orange, I'm going to drag and drop a scratch overlay in there. As you can see, it's quite big. I'm going to try and zoom out a little bit. There we go. And we want to go to edit. Make sure that's selected, go to edit and then free transform again so we can grab it and resize and just shrink it down just so it sits over the colour layer. There we go. And then just click and just zoom in. There we go. So you can't really see it. You can see it, it's very subtle. We're going to right click on the the overlay, and we're going to select pixels. Now we're going to go down to the colour layer, and I'm going to go to edit and cut, and then just hide the texture layer, the overlay. And what it's done is it's taken the scratch overlay and it's just cut it out of the colour layer. You don't have to do it this way. I mean, there's many different ways this can work. You could change the colour of the overlay if you like to a white, or keep it dark to give it a bit of a texture over the top. I'm going to do the same again with another scratch overlay. This is a slightly busier, so I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to go to the scratch effect overlay, right click, delete that first one. So we've got the one there, and right click, select pixels, go back to the colour and go to edit and cut. And then we'll go to the selection tool and just click anywhere just to deselect it, hide that layer. And then in the colour layer, you can see where it's cut it out. Select the pixels again. I'm going to go to the black layer, so the original stamp we've got at the top, and go to edit and cut again. Rasterize first, edit, cut, and then it will leave a bit of a like a worn, distressed effect over the focal point. And that is our second tag. So for now, I'm just going to click on the background I have there, just selection tool, and then I'm just going to delete that other little bit that's sticking out onto the other tag. Just cut that so we can be ready for the next one. Okay, on to the third tag of this project. So I'm going to go to the files. I'm going to grab one of the backgrounds and I'm going to drag and drop it into the project. And I'm going to sort of sit this so we've got the swirl and pattern effect over the tag. Right click on that layer, and then we're going to add a clipping mask. There we go. And then I'm going to select, it's easier actually, select the part I want to keep, edit, and I think we're going to go with cut. So we'll just cut this there, and then we go to edit and paste. So it'll paste it back. The layer that we have left, we're just going to delete that. And then it's just going to keep that section that we want. And we're going to have to click clipping mask again. So there we go. Just clip it to the shape. And that is it, ready to edit. And like we've done before, I'm going to go to the blending options and we're going to have a look through to see which one sits better on the paper background. I want that paper texture to come through a little bit as well with this one. So I'm just going to go through each one and decide which one we're going to keep for this particular example. Okay, so I think luminosity looks like the best one. It gives it it's brought the saturation down a little bit, but what I'm going to do here, because I just want a subtle pattern in the background, I'm going to change the opacity of this layer just to about 40%, so you can just see it sitting on top of the paper texture there. It's just a subtle pattern in the background. And with this one, I'm going to show you how you can drag in an overlay or a digi stamp, anything you want to use. And you're going to change not just the colour of the overlay, we're going to add a bit of a texture to this. So we're going to drag and drop and resize over the area we want it to sit. And we're going to go to the file with the backgrounds and we're going to drag a darker background in. It's got a little bit of a texture, a little bit of a pattern going on. We're going to drag that over the top, and then with that one we're going to right click and add clipping mask, and now that will sit within, it will fit within the shape of the overlay because the overlay is sitting right underneath it. And then the overlay and the top layer, we're going to merge them together. And again, we're going to just mess with the blending options on this one and just see how each one looks until we find one we're happy with. I'm just going to go through these now. I think I'm going to stick with hard light. I think that looks really nice. slightly darker than the background. I'm going to bring the opacity down a little bit as well, so it just gives that subtle texture on top. And then we're going to grab that layer and we're going to right click and clip it to the texture shapes with the rest of the designs. And for this one, I'm going to choose another focal point, and I'm going to go for another clip art file and just drag and drop this in and sit this center. You don't have to do it center, you can do it anywhere you like. And for this example, I'm just going to right click and we're going to click on color. We're going to select blending options on the layer itself, and there are so many different options you can do. So I'm just going to play about with these settings, and I encourage you guys to do this as well. Just play about with different settings till you find something that you like, something that works with the design. There are so many different options here. And there is actually a really cool way to create shadows, a bit like the way we did this before, only this one we can do using the layer style. So you click the 3D option at the bottom and you can move the shadow around, change the colour, you change the blend mode, how far away you want it to sit from the object, how dark you want it as well. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that focal point at the minute. So we're going to select the layer underneath that, which is the splatters. As you can see, that's the clip art above, and we're just going to stay on that layer for now. We're going to start bringing in some digi stamps. I'm going to just click one, drag and drop, and then I'm going to resize this and sit it over the design. Just drag that so it resizes it. Just pop that just behind the focal point there. And what we want now is, with the digistamp that we've just added in, we're going to lock the transparency. Now this is like an alpha lock sort of function, and we're going to select the brush just so it's the right size that we need for this particular. I'll just rasterize that. And what locking transparency does, you can only paint on the existing pixels in the layer. So the transparent background stays protected, so you can quickly colour the digistamp without painting outside the lines, if that makes sense. So if we grab the brush and change the colour, there you go. You can see how that works. You can just drag it over the design and colour parts that you wish to be coloured, if any. And you can also use the selection tool, select an area, and then you can use the paint bucket and fill it in. That might be quicker, but just to show you how this works using the brush tool. And just because we have that focal point sitting on the top, we're going to just hide focal point for now. As you can see there, go back to the digistamp layer. We have missed a little bit, and that is all the lettering coloured in. Now go to the blending options, and I'm just going to change this to multiply because it does bring brings the texture out of the background, and it does darken it slightly. I'm going to go around the edge. This is probably a long way around of doing this, but just to show you how it works with the brush tool, you can colour in different parts, and it just makes it look a little bit more interesting. There we go, that is done. And bring the focal point back. I want to right click on the digistamp and then just add clipping mask so it sits it within the design nicely. Okay, so just zooming out a little bit, I'm going to do the same thing again and bring in another digistamp. We'll go for this one with the numbers, letters and numbers. I'm going to resize this just to sit at the bottom of the tag. And again, this is just sitting underneath the focal point, just slightly overlapping the edge. There we go, and click OK. And then with this one, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to just select all the pixels. And then we're going to keep the orange, and we're going to go to edit and, oh, well, we can't fill. And the reason being is this isn't rasterized. So what we're going to do, go go to right click on the layer, rasterize first, and then as you can see the pixels are still selected. We're going to go to edit and then fill, and then click OK. And then just to make this flow better with the design, I'm going to go to the blending options and select multiply, so it does look like it's just been stamped on the background and you've got that texture coming through slightly. And then again add clipping mask, and that is that one done. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are clipped at the top layer of your project. We're going to go to the shipping tags folder and grab the shadow overlay and just drag and drop that over. And this needs to be at the very top of the design. As you can see, you can change the opacity. You can have it a subtle shadow overlay around the edges, or you can have it full, whatever you choose. You can actually go to image and adjustments. If you go to the brightness and contrast, you can drop the brightness a little bit to make it darker. You can actually up the contrast to make it a bit more bolder as well. There's all different ways you can edit this up. And what we'll do is just hide that one for now at the top, and then we'll drag the clean black outline over to the design. And that again is sitting up right on the top of the design. So you've got a, you can have a clean outline around these tags if you wish. That's another option. What we're going to do is go to the outline layer, and what we can do here, instead of rasterizing the design and editing that way, we can click on the blending options. And now what we can do is click color overlay, make sure that's selected, and the blend mode normal, and you can choose any color you wish, and that will change the color of the line work as well. You can do this with other files as well. This is another way of doing it. I'm just going to select a color from the design, so we're going to go for a bit of a green, bring it down a little bit to make it darker, and there we go. Click OK, click OK there. Let's zoom in a little bit. You can see that the lines do sort of match the design, and we'll just hide that one for now, that layer at the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the white overlay. So I'm going to just completely take off the clipping masks for everything we've used in this project here. So I'll just go through all this now, take the clipping masks off. This is if you were to do it a different way, if you just wanted to overlay your designs like that. So you can't see the tag shapes at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top layer, and then we're going to grab the white overlay, and we're just going to drag and drop that over, and that acts as a bit of a stencil for the design. That is another way you can use it. I've just added these into the kit if this is what you prefer to use. You can use the clipping mask if you wish. Using this white stencil does completely take away the background because it adds its own background over the top, if that makes sense. So you can't use this as a transparent PNG. But if you were to sort of save it as a JPEG or a PDF and just have it as a flattened printable, you can do that. What I'm going to do just for this example is just merge all the layers together for the designs. So we've still got that white overlay there. I'm going to select the pixels, right click and select pixels, and click on the designs, and then we're going to edit and cut. And what this does is this just cuts them out. That is another way you can do it, and I hope that's made sense. I haven't done it too quick. You can still add the outlines on the top if you wish. You don't have to have them, they are just other options. And then you can export these as PNG files or JPEGs or PDFs, anything you wish to do. And that is it, guys. So I really hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial and found it helpful. If you'd like to have a go yourself, you can find the full Creator Bases collection over on my Etsy shop. All the links are in the description below. And if you have any questions, or if there's a technique or creator base you'd like to see in a future video, I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. And if you want to, come and say hello over on my social media. All the links again are in the description. As always, thank you so much for your support, and until next time, stay crafty, stay creative, and most importantly, have fun creating. Bye for now, everyone.